This is 1960s protests in plain English. The 1960s were filled with many protests. Those protests came in many different forms, such as protesting against war, discrimination against race, and gender. Protests for the Vietnam War came late, in 1965. By the end of 1967, American students who opposed the war had become a significant political force. Many folk musicians used song to express their opposition to the war. Journalists helped to sustain the anti-war movement with articles about the brutality and the futility of the war. Peace marches drew public attention to the anti-war movement. The counterculture was closely related to the New Left. They were openly scornful of the values and conventions of middle-class society. Young Americans would flaunt long hair, shabby or flamboyant clothing, and had a rebellious disdain for traditional speech. A central part to the counterculture were drugs such as marijuana and LSD. The sexual freedom that was also associated with counterculture was their belief that individuals should give in to their instincts. The publication of Betty Friedan's A Feminine Mystique in 1963 was an important part of the start of the new women's rights movement. The book claimed that women felt that they were buried alive by their role in the suburbs. The same year, the Equal Pay Act was passed, which allowed women to receive the same pay as men for doing the same thing. In 1964, the Equal Rights Amendment was incorporated into the Civil Rights Act, which allowed women to have the same legal protections against discrimination as African Americans. 3 years later, the National Organization of Women was founded by Friedan and other feminists and became the most influential feminist organization. Protests consisted of peace marches, rebellion, and organizations for a certain cause. People were starting to take a more active role in society to reform it the way they wanted it to be.